Hey, everybody. Thank you all for coming. It's Saturday, and there's some people hopeful in the chat here that Bitcoin will go to $20,000 soon, but that's not going to happen. We'll cover that today, as well as a whole bunch more news, all the stuff that you may have missed this week. And again, we'll weave together a little tapestry, but it's been overall a very good week, very good recovery. The crypto market cap added $260 billion in a week. Pretty big. Volume just shy of 80 billion. And Bitcoin is at 64,300 as we speak. Dominance around 53. Fear and greed back to 56. It's like, I did say earlier in the week, I said when fear and greed hits 25, you buy. It's that simple. Let's jump in. And of course, I'm just a guy on the internet. Not financial advice, of course, ever. First of all, we're going to start with the Mardi market overview as of today, August 24th. And I love this overview because we can cover a lot in a very short window of time, which is exactly what I'd like to do. So first of all, gold just off all-time highs. Bitcoin bounced back so fast. I mean, we went from 58K to 64K in literally a little over a day or so. Very big rebound. And as I say, you got to be on the train for these movements. Cost of energy, all-time high. NVIDIA getting right back to all-time highs, about $129. All-time high is $140. Tesla is right up to 220-ish, give or take, but kind of in that little holding pattern, but definitely under constant accumulation in anticipation of 1010, which is the robotaxi day. Oil, lower end of the range. NASDAQ futures up. S&P 500 all-time high. Super interesting. What happened this week? Well, first of all, Bitcoin did surge because there was some news. RFK is a very pro-Bitcoin candidate, and he withdrew as a presidential candidate, but the market kind of liked that. And also, to be fair, Fed dovishness also has an impact. And you notice the way I skirt around certain subjects, so as not to offend anybody. Wolfman Racquetball, good to see you, buddy. But the Fed confirms rate cuts after 28 months of tightening. Bitcoin soars. So between those two reasons, Bitcoin and crypto had a very good week. But we will spend some time talking about the alts as well, because they are on fire as well. And as usual, not only do they fall faster, but they also rise faster. Much faster. We'll talk about that in a minute too. Also, shout out to Uncle Fred Krueger. Unless you own mainly Bitcoin, within 5 years, both your job and your assets are at risk. With Bitcoin, it's just your job. And if you have enough Bitcoin, you don't need to worry about a job. I would have added that piece to it there. But I do believe the next 5 years will be very transformational in the world. So be ready and be prepared as well out there. Let's look at the market. What happened since I was here last Saturday doing the exact same thing. B-Man, good to see you, buddy. Bitcoin is up a whopping 1.72%. Whereas Solana's up 16.26%. A very, very big amount of movement there. So is Cardano, Polkadot, Avalanche, a lot of dark green. Ethereum up 2.29%, outperforming Bitcoin a little bit. And the question is, when you see all of that green across the altcoins outperforming the two big motherships, which are Bitcoin and Ethereum, the question is alt season. Is it in or is it beginning? We'll tackle that today as well. Now, stock performance, just to get the market stuff out of the way, you can see here, the stock market previous to last week did really well while crypto was down. All of a sudden, stock market kind of flat, a little bit, NVIDIA up about 4%, Tesla up about 2%, Amazon flat, Meta flat, Apple flat, Microsoft flat, etc. So it was relatively flat. But again, not everything runs in unison. This is interesting correlation too, because it looks like the tech stocks are moving first and then crypto follows. Anyway, we'll see if that's a pattern in the future. Let's get into the Bitcoin black hole and talk about all the good stuff that happened last week. First of all, Bitcoin speedometers. Swissblock indicators suggest a very favorable environment. I showed these on Tuesday and they were very favorable and nobody believed me. But yes, they are painting a very bullish scenario because risk levels have significantly decreased after Bitcoin successfully consolidated its position. Notably, all the FUD surrounding Mount Gox and all of that stuff. Germany was flushed. And the whole market absorbed it, which is a really, really positive sign. Also, should the Bitcoin risk signal readings of the last few days represent a local peak, this rather points to a very strong move upwards. Yet again, it paid to take a risk on buying that dip when everybody was fearful. And it looks like, as I mentioned as well before, everything's happening earlier, like the September typical dip for crypto may have happened, triggered by the carry trade in Japan too. We shall see. Thank you as well to the mods in chat, T&D Tesla out there, and Sean Donnelly, and Toss Devin, and B-Man, and the whole crew. Appreciate you all for coming. Let's look at the ETFs. I call this the black hole. They're sucking in so much Bitcoin. August is normally quiet, but these ETFs have sucked in $400 million so far. And there's more. So things are performing a lot better than expected. $400 million in 3 weeks is kind of a lot. Let's look at the late August spike here on the chart. What is very interesting about this is this spike that we had yesterday is the biggest spike we've had for 25 trading days, which translates to 5 weeks, which takes us back to, that'd be early July, late June sometime. And another view of the world, again, the biggest day in 5 weeks is clearly seen there. The money is still flowing up, record volumes, record numbers, record accumulation. But the thing that I always look forward to seeing is how many Bitcoin do these ETFs suck from the system? Because the system's going to run dry sooner or later. I just don't know when. 450 Bitcoin are issued a day. These puppies sucked in 4,000 yesterday. That's 3,932 to be precise, were taken from the system. That is a lot more than daily issuance. And that's just 9 ETFs. Pretty staggering. And another Bitcoin chart, you can see here the Bitcoin risk is very, very low at 7.08. When you're under 25, it's a very good time to not be worried. So here we go. Thank you again to the Swissblock team out there too for their charts. And in other good news too, we are now at that 64.3 level, 64,300. Once we get beyond, say, somewhere between 64, 65, maybe 66, it's straight back to 70,000. Clear skies ahead. These are the 3 cohorts that remain as resistance at the levels of 64,200, which is the short-term holder realized price. The short-term holder 1 to 3 month realized price is 64,200 as well. And the short-term holder 3 to 6 month realized price is 66,200. Once we get above, say, 65, 66, it's clear skies straight back to 70,000. And we've seen how fast Bitcoin can move. It added $6,000 in basically a little over 24 hours. That's quick. Let's talk about some of the alts. Let's look at the L1s, L2s for the week, ladies and gentlemen. You can see here, let's look at, well, in terms of the 7-day change, there was a lot of winners out there. The SUIs, MATIC rebounded, Optimism rebounded, Avalanche rebounded, Aptos rebounded, Near. All these altcoins are up double-digit percentages. It's been pretty impressive. Let's look at the TVL across all the different chains. The growth sector for the week was Solana, growing TVL by 3%. Not a lot, but it's faster than anybody else. The 7-day change for stablecoin volume. The 2 winners here are Avalanche, up 12%, but from a very low base, and Solana, up 7%. Daily active addresses, the winner is Binance Smart Chain, up 18%. And transactions for 7 days, Binance, up 50%. What's going on with Binance? Let's have a quick look at this next slide. Binance is doing real well, maybe on anticipation that a certain somebody is getting out of the slammer. Binance founder CZ is out of prison and he's been transferred to a halfway house, and he'll be out in September, just in time for the bull market to kick off in earnest. Everything happens for a reason. So we'll see. We'll see what he does on the outside. Let's look at some SCP percentages. This is a chart that I look at from our SCP profiler. And it looks at the percentage of ETH market cap circulating compared to the market caps of circulating tokens for all the other chains. So what's interesting about this is Solana is now 22.16% of ETH. It was under 20% of ETH only a day or two ago. Now it's already 22%. It's going to 25%, then 30%, then 40%, then 50%. And that is probably just simply going to happen. But we want all chains to succeed. We want Ethereum to succeed as well. So don't get me wrong there. Cardano has 4.27% of ETH market cap. Tron 4.15, Avalanche 3.33, and DOT 2.21, near 1.65, and MATIC 1.61%. And the rest down the line are kind of crumbs. It's also startling to see that there are layer 2s on Ethereum that do 3 times more than what Ethereum does, but they only trade at 1 or 2% of the market cap of Ethereum, which I find interesting. But that's all about the whole value capture is really tricky in this whole field. Now, big story of today is AltSeason Oscillator. Shout out to Sanjay as well for bringing this to my attention. This is a cool little chart here, and it gives us kind of a guideline as to how, this from Crypto Koyup, is how to play AltSeason. Now, it's my interpretation, and we'll see. You can interpret any way you want, and the colors are a little bit hard to see, so I apologize for that. But basically, the most important lines you need to see: at the very bottom, there's a green horizontal line that says sell your house. At the very top, there's a red horizontal line, and that says buy your house. The yellow is the alt signal, and Bitcoin is the white line. And that's all you need to know. But what this is, the total market cap value of all cryptocurrencies, and then total 3, which is the total market cap value of all cryptocurrencies except Bitcoin and Ethereum. This is the alt season piece. Now the oscillator moves between 0 and 1. That's on the left axis, similar to the relative strength index. And there's a few ways to look at this. First of all, when Bitcoin and altcoins are both rising, this indicates an upward trend with both total and total 3. And that means Bitcoin's dominance is stable or decreasing, signaling a bull market. And the action you take there is consider buying more. If altcoins are rising faster than Bitcoin, invest more in them, otherwise be cautious. You could argue we're at that stage right now. And it's pretty clear as well that, the winning alts outperform Bitcoin. But in a bear market, they also underperform a lot. And now, when Bitcoin and altcoins are falling, this shows a clear downward trend, and that means reduce risk, hedge, get out, move to stablecoins, etc., and wait for things to get close to bottom, or you may want to buy some dips on the way down too. Now, if Bitcoin is falling and altcoins are rising, which will happen sometime over the next year, I estimate, this is rare, but when it does happen, altcoins go on a banana zone mode, and you're better in alts despite Bitcoin. The action, if Bitcoin is stable or not dropping sharply, it might be that alt season. Consider getting more into alts. And then Bitcoin rising, altcoins falling. Bitcoin is outperforming the market usually before a halving, as we've seen, or with the ETFs. And this is the pre-bull market phase that I talk about a lot, where Bitcoin outperforms. And it could be a good time to slowly layer into altcoins. But the beautiful thing is, I love about this chart is, when it gets really toppy, when you start seeing the banana zone happening for your altcoins, consider taking some off the table and allocating to something else like house. Buy a house. And at the bottom, you sell a house and you live on the street and then you buy altcoins. Kidding. Of course not that, but that's the way this genius put this chart together. So we'll keep an eye on this one. It'll be in my little back pocket once a week at least. Now, stablecoin speed by chain. Shout out to Visa and Marty for bringing this up. What's important here is the blockchain confirmation time in blocks and seconds. And this is very important. This is something that Visa, because they're dabbling much more with blockchains now and stablecoins, they need a very quick confirmation time. And the winner is Solana at 0.4 seconds. Number 2 is Avalanche, 2 seconds. Flow, number 3 at 2.5 seconds. I didn't know anything was happening on Flow. Algorand, 5 seconds. Stellar, 5 seconds. Tron, 1 minute. Arbitrum, 3 minutes. ETH, 3 minutes. And Polygon, 20 minutes. So, can you wait for 20 minutes for a transaction or even 3 minutes? The answer is no. Probably not in this day and age when people want instant gratification. Also, let's talk about AAVE. AAVE's been on fire. I covered it last week. This is a cool chart because people say, how do AAVE make money and how are they doing so well right now? Well, they're the OG DeFi player for borrowing and lending. And the AAVE model is very simple. They offer yields to lenders and they charge a higher interest to borrowers. And the delta is how they generate revenue, just like banks. Except for banks don't give you any money, any interest on your deposits, but they charge you 20% on what you borrow. But here, it's much tighter, which means it's why I'm so bullish on DeFi and things like AAVE for the future. In full disclosure, I don't own AAVE. I did back in 2021, but not now. Now, here, the green line is the lender yield, and it's always lower than the red line, the borrower interest, which is AAVE's profit. For instance, you can lend USDC at 5.8% per year, and you can borrow it at 7.6%. And that 1.8% is the spread that AAVE makes. And of course, rates adjust based on supply and demand, increasing when reserves are low to attract new deposits and reduce borrowing. But this is one very, very cool little business model. And we look forward to seeing much more DeFi in the future. And of course, there's ways of borrowing against your Bitcoin and stuff. But again, risky for now. Wait for things to be much more established and mature before we get into that. Also, FSD 12.5.1.5 is rolling out to hardware 3 customers, not hardware 2, hardware 3. This is taking a little bit longer than expected, but now people are getting it. And for the record, I drove last night 12.5.1.5 or 4 or 3. I don't remember which one it was. It was mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. And it's weird because it's even more courageous than I would be. At intersections, getting in and out of cars is just, it's uncanny how precise and how, I wouldn't say aggressive, but kind of committed to moves that I wouldn't be as committed to. Anyway, interesting. And speaking of Elon Musk too, NASA gave up on Boeing and they're hopefully will be able to bring the 2 stranded astronauts up in space, Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, from the International Space Station and bring them back in a SpaceX Dragon capsule. Boeing Starliner capsule will no longer be used to bring them back because they think it's going to explode. So I don't know how many billions of taxpayer monies was wasted, but they should give a refund. Wouldn't that be reasonable? You promise to do something, you don't deliver. Maybe you don't get paid. We'll see. Anyway, government contracts are quite lucrative if you can get them. So well done to NASA for finding a solution at last. I've been waiting for months for them to just pick up the phone and say, hey, Elon, help us out. And this thing went viral on the internet on Friday. In case you missed it, watch it. It's only 6 minutes or 5 minutes. But this from Geiger Capital. Joe Kernan absolutely destroyed Elizabeth Warren for calling for price controls. This is how the media on both sides should be pushing against moronic, economically illiterate ideas that have been tried and failed countless times throughout history. It was so refreshing to see a reporter put a government official on the spot for saying stupid stuff. Very impressed. So, and another news, everybody out there in Europe, it's now going to get a little bit more expensive. No, actually, it's going to get cheaper for you to come visit the US if you want to. Euro jumps to the highest level since July 2023, and it's up around $1.12 for every euro. And this means, it's also because the Fed, they're going to cut rates, which drops the value of the currency. And the Fed said very clearly, we do not seek or welcome further cooling in labor market conditions. After the other big surprise last week, where they realized, oh, we thought we created 818,000 jobs, but really, no, we didn't. It was all miscalculated. That's the quick update. I'm going to go back and work on the Q&A for tomorrow. I'll be back at noon Pacific. That is in about 23 hours to see you all. Thank you all for coming. Have a great weekend. And I heard the weather's really bad in Europe, so stay dry over there. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, TND Tesla, Sean Donnelly, and everybody who made the chat. Thank you, B-Man, Anglo Blackson, and I hope I didn't miss anybody. And let me see one more. Thos Steven, I think I can't recall. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.